Hi guys, it's Noelle Michaels, and we are back for episode 2 of Friended by God, an update and review. Welcome to Noelle Chat. This video's super special subscriber is Arthur. Thank you so much for subscribing, Arthur. I really appreciate it. Now, last time, the first episode's theme was about hopelessness. And I was kind of worried that they were going to be very similar and just change something a little bit. It was going to be the same formula. But I don't really think they did. I think they did switch a few things up enough to make it interesting for me. And, of course, I have a chart. You guys know I love charts, all right? Okay. The theme for this episode number 2 was, I'm not good at this due to poor communication. Yeah. And I have set up the people that were in the show as best as I can. If anybody else comes up that I think of while we're doing this, I'll add it, of course. Okay, I've got my marker. I'm going to try to make this a short video. Let's see how we do, right? Okay, so God is a very good communicator, of course, because he's very persistent in sending Miles messages. So I'm going to give God a star, as he's a good communicator. Okay, now the message God was sending Miles was a friend recommendation for Katie. See? And of course, Miles ignored it quite a bit at first, but then finally decided to go for it. Because he was in a restaurant with Kara, I believe, and he saw Katie's face, recognized it from the friend recommendation, and said, all right, well, this is what I'm supposed to do, right? Gonna do it. And so he watches Katie and Katie's boss interact. And it's obvious from this that Katie was late for work. So she is not good at, remember that? Not good at something. She's not good at being an employee. She's not good at being an employee. And it was because of something that went on with her son, Nate. Nate, it turns out, because I'm in this field and I recognized it right away, probably has what we typically call autism, right? So there was a problem with Nate that ended up in Katie being late, and then her boss was angry with her, and they argued. Now Miles stepped in, being the do-gooder he's supposed to be on this show. He steps in and he tells Katie's boss to apologize to her because he was yelling at her. And he insists on it. And at the end, Katie's boss says, yeah, I'm sorry, you're fired. And Miles did not feel good about that, of course, because he got Katie fired. And Katie just left. We don't see Nate right away until Miles goes to her house. He figures it out, of course, online. They know how to do that. And goes to her house to apologize and to give her some leads for new jobs. But Katie says she's already got an appointment for a new job for an interview, and she has to leave. Her friend's going to come to watch Nate or be with Nate in a place. And, of course, her friend cancels. So she runs after Miles, finds him, and says, come with us. You stay with Nate in the diner while I go to my interview. And Miles does very good, except, of course, Nate does not have good eye contact, is nonverbal, does not communicate by speaking, and towards the end of their little sitting time there, decides to just get up and walk out because he is triggered by seeing a bag someone's carrying from, it seems like a children's museum. And he goes over to the Children's Museum. He won't stop. Miles has to follow him in there. And he walks right over to a piano. And Miles starts playing the piano. And Nate connects with Miles. So let's look at this a little closer. So Katie's not good at being an employee. Katie's boss is really not a very effective boss. Katie feels like she's not a good mom because she's having trouble with negotiating Nate and his disability. Okay, when Miles got Katie fired, he did not feel like a good do-gooder. And it's all because of poor communication. These guys were not communicating well. She doesn't feel like she's a good mom because she and Nate do not communicate well, right? She can't get Nate turned on to understand and look at her. And to talk and look at her and make good eye contact and react emotionally to her. Okay, so the fact that Miles left the diner where Mom left him with Nate and went somewhere else, she gets back to the diner, doesn't find them. And of course, who's there as well, who shows up looking for Miles, is Cara Bloom, his writer friend. Now, she's there because Rakesh is trying to tell them that he's located where the God messages are coming from in Hell's Kitchen in New York City. But he's trying to contact Miles by phone, and he is ignoring him. So here's another breakdown in communication. They are not being good teammates here. Not good at being teammates because of this lack of communication, so that Rakesh has to reach out to Cara. Now, I called him Rashid the first episode. I made a couple mistakes with names, but I'm trying to do better, guys. I'm looking all over for spellings that are correct. Miles is not M-Y, it's I. Allie is spelt like this. Allie Feiner is his sister, and she's a therapist. And guess what? She gets a star too, just like God. She's a good communicator, and she's a facilitator in this episode. Back to the story. Miles, at the same time, has to concentrate. Besides his do-gooding, he has to be in a podcast because a podcast director from Sirius Radio has contacted him and wants him to do things his way. But Miles is just he's acquiescing. He's saying, okay, I'll do it that way, okay, when he really doesn't feel strong about it. And the podcast director actually gives him a script, and Miles is not good at it anymore. He's not good at being a podcast person because he's not doing it from his heart any longer. There's that lack of communication between Miles and the podcast director. He tries to tell the podcast director, he doesn't like what's going on, but he's not very effective at it. Okay. Now, Cara was very happy to be called away from her mom to go look for Miles because her and her mother have poor communication. It feels very awkward when they're together. They don't have things in common, right? And this is her sister, Liv, who pops in and out of the scenes. There's not a lot of interaction there. So anyway, Cara is feeling that she's not a good daughter. And Cara's mom is feeling that she's not a good mom, right? Yeah, because of poor communication. Meanwhile, as Rakesh is going down to Hell's Kitchen area to try to team up with his team, the team of three, Rakesh, Miles, and Cara, who are trying to find out who this God character is, who is friending them, friending Miles, I should say, friended Miles. He wanted to have a second date with Jaya. His mother had set him up on the first episode. He really liked Jaya. They got along well. They were close in the first episode. Yeah. And he wanted to ask her for lunch, and she said she was busy. She used that term, busy, instead of explaining and communicating exactly what was going on. Well, she wouldn't have, of course, because she was on a lunch date with somebody else. Yeah, she had a lunch date. And of course, as Rakesh was following the signal to God in Hell's Kitchen, he comes across Jaya and her lunch date. And Jaya is acting very friendly to the lunch date. And Rakesh, his heart is broken. He feels terrible. And he goes to see Allie because Allie works at a restaurant and she's having a congratulations party because of Miles' new podcast show, right? Well, at the same time, Allie wants Miles' dad, Arthur, to come to the party. But although Arthur's willing to go to the party, he really has never listened to the podcast. And that causes poor communication between him and Miles. And this is where Miles is not feeling good as a son, and Arthur Feiner is not feeling good as a dad. Not good at it due to poor communication, right? Now, here, Rakesh admits that he overreacted. Jaya says, it was a lunch date that was set up before you and I met, and I didn't want to just cancel it. I wanted to just go through with it and then move on from there. So again, they both felt a little bit that they weren't good at dating because of poor communication. There we have it. So how does it resolve? That's what we're looking for, resolving things, right? Resolve. How does it resolve? Well, first of all, Kara and Kara's mom remember that they like to jog together. So they go jogging. And now that's something that they have together that maybe they can talk while they're jogging and have better communication, right? Miles and the podcast director, they end it because Miles realizes it's not really the way he wants it to go, and he's not able to communicate his true feelings on the podcast, so that gets ended. Katie and Nate's communication, the mom and the little boy with autism, they do it through music, because when they couldn't find Nate at one point when he ran away, he went to a piano that was on stage at the park and he started playing a song, playing the piano. And it was a song that Katie sang to him every night. It was Beautiful Boy by John Lennon. Yeah, it was such a beautiful song, really. So they are going to be communicating through music. Of course, there's no more job here, so that's okay. She doesn't have to communicate with him anymore. That was just the setup to the problem and how Miles and her got started with their communication. And they learned to trust each other a little bit. Yeah. And Arthur Feiner, he listened to the podcast. Yeah. He's willing to hear the other side of the atheist podcast that his son does, even though he's a reverend. Of course, that's Reverend Arthur Feiner. Yeah. Allie was happy with the results because, of course, she's a therapist and a good communicator. And she saw these guys start to communicate better and to realize they had overreacted. And that is the whole show. The problem was set up. They talked about not feeling good at doing something because of poor communication. And 9 out of 10, they improved their communication and went on to have learned something and to become closer with each other and be able to do things well, to be a good mom, to be a good child, to be a good father, to be a good sibling, to be a good person who dates, to be a good businessman, right? Yeah. And now I'm looking even more forward to episode 3 of Friended by God, I should say, because I can see that it really took me a while to figure it out. And I love puzzles, and it is like a puzzle. I hope that you'll take a look at it online, and if you can find it. And it's a pretty good show. They're really starting to develop the characters, and they bring some back and some new. Well, the first one, there were too many new characters, really. It seemed a little thin. This one, with only the one new character, which was, well, the mom and her son, that was a lot better. Okay, guys. Thank you for coming to Noel Chat. Let's give it a thumbs up, everybody. Thumbs up, a share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. We always try to do new and different things here. If you haven't, check out my review of A Star is Born movie. And also, if anybody's looking to make money online, I've got a video on that too. Take a look at my videos, guys. You're going to love them. Thank you to Arthur for being this video's super special subscriber. Again, I really appreciate it. This is Noelle Michaels signing off. Take care, and I'll see you soon.